this video, I'm going to show you a sneak peek into a masterclass that I had with Legion Jay. Now, Jay asked me to jump on a call with him and teach him some N8N stuff, so I happily jumped on a call and helped him out. So without further ado, you guys enjoy. Hey man, what's up?
Not too much. What's going on, Austin?
Not much, man. Where are you calling in from right now?
Miami, Florida. How about you? Where are you based?
Nice. I'm in Buenos Aires in Argentina right now.
Oh, cool. I love Buenos Aires. We spent like a month there years ago. They party there like I've never seen in my life. They don't go out till 2 a.m. and they don't come home to the sunrises.
That's true, but I'm not too into that lately. Yeah.
Same, which is why I just moved to Miami. I kind of waited until my party days were over. I had a girlfriend, or else I don't know if I would have survived it.
That makes sense. Right on, man. That's cool.
Yeah, well, good to finally connect. I appreciate you taking some time to help out here. It's
absolutely
so frustrating, I guess, in this industry, especially in the e-learning space. And I'm coaching all this stuff. There's always new software popping up that I hear it enough times and I have to go learn it and switch all my make automations over, and there's resistance. But now I'm finally like starting to really see the value in it and getting excited about it.
Yeah, man, that's cool, dude. Nice. So what made you do the switch from make?
I felt like I had to learn it anyways, because if I'm teaching this stuff, I have to be proficient in all of the latest tools, but mostly the ability to self-host. I was hitting all my limits on Make. I just actually upgraded my account again. So I was hoping for a solution where I could, have my like 100,000 executions and not have to like pay thousands of dollars a month for it. So that's what originally got me excited.
Or something for it. Gotcha. Yeah. Makes sense.
I got to scale my server instead of paying for executions. Are you using the cloud version or the self-hosted?
No, we do self-hosted. We have a couple different ones. I have one self-hosted on Vultr. I have another one self-hosted on Railways.
Why?
Because I'm testing them out, seeing which one works. I still, at very large scale where you're doing like millions of automations a day, still recommend doing your own hosted version on your own servers, right? And not just one server, but like 4 or 5 servers that work together, But Railway seems to be doing pretty okay for about medium volume right now. I've been testing that out. I was testing out Coolify not too long ago. Coolify is not that great, but Railway is pretty cool.
When do you start hitting issues when you're doing like a ton of automation volume and the servers start to not be able to handle it?
Yeah, it's usually 2 problems. So a lot of self-hosting videos, some of my earlier self-hosting videos included, it's just like one person deploys on one server, and it's like, well, that's cool. You can scale the server up, but still it's like, if you're using Docker, for example, you're like emulating on a computer, which is like, have you ever emulated like retro video games on your PC or whatever?
I don't think so.
Like that? No? Well, you're basically, it's like using a virtual machine inside of your computer. So it doesn't take up all the resources, right? And so you start to hit bottlenecks regardless of how big the server gets, because you have like 4 machines running on one machine. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And so instead of that, you got to split them out into different servers and whatnot. And that's your first biggest bottleneck. The second one usually is your Postgres server. By default, Postgres only allows 100 maximum open connections at a time, which is fine. But if you don't have a lot of RAM on your Postgres server, if it's not as beefy on the CPU side, it starts to get quite bottlenecky. You can raise that up to 10,000, right? Where you can have multiple concurrent requests. And so I don't know how much N8N you've used, but if you've ever opened a self-hosted N8N and the interface loads, but the workflows take a while to load for a minute, that's because the database, the Postgres, is bottlenecking. And so there's that. And then if you want the interface to be fast, then you want to have workers behind it, that do the jobs, whereas the main N8N that you're working in doesn't actually do anything. It just controls the configurations and stuff. So that speeds it up even more.
Oh, shit. I guess these are problems that I'll probably have to deal with at some point once I scale up my workflows and executions.
Yeah, man. I mean, I recommend for now, if you want like an easy, pretty good out the box solution, I think Railways is good. They have a template that has 4 nodes. It's got 4 servers. It's got Postgres, Redis, 1 worker node, and 1 N8N node. And I've been testing that out, and it works good for like large volume. And by medium, I mean like.
And I'm really only running my own stuff. This isn't like, I'm not like scaling it for clients. I don't see myself doing like millions.
Then Railway should be fine for almost everything you need.
I think I'm on something called Condabo right now.
Condabo?
Yeah. Someone on Fiverr set this up for me, said it's scalable. I don't
It's
know
okay.
if it actually is.
It's just a server, man. So
Right.
Contabo, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, it's all the same shit, right?
Okay. So should deal with my medium-sized problems.
Depending on how he deployed it, yes.
Cool. But yeah, if you don't mind, I can just kind of, let's see if we can solve some of my problems real quick. And I've been watching a bunch of videos, but I was doing relatively advanced stuff in Make, and I'm just having kind of a hard time translating some of that.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let's have some fun. If I share my whole, I got a 54-inch monitor. Let's go window. All right, so I think I finally figured out how to get looping to work correctly. So this is one of the really common use cases that I'll use like Make for, is like Apify scraping, processing all those big data sets through.
Yeah.
Pretty typical stuff. The way N8N handles the data, I hate. So in Apify, I'll get these data set items, create these filters really, really simply, and then it goes one at a time through the workflow, which doesn't, bog down my OpenAIs or Google Sheet API calls. Versus N8N just seems to shoot it all in there at once. It has been like crashing my Google Sheets, too many API requests, and then it errors out.
Yeah. Switch to Supabase instead of Google Sheets. You won't have that problem.
Supabase.
Okay. It's free, so you can host a lot. It's actually just a Postgres database with an interface on top of it, but spreadsheets aren't very good at scale. So
this would solve the crashing issue.
API limits and whatever, yes.
Right. So instead of using like giant loops, which is kind of what
you can do giant loops too. It just depends. But also with Supabase, for example, you can insert like 1,000 rows or edit 1,000 rows at a time instead of doing one API call per row or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You have the same problem with a lot of these AI modules too, though, right? You can't just send 500 requests to OpenAI all at the same time.
No, you need a rate limiter in place, or you need to split them up to different AIs so that, it splits them out so you don't hit the rate limits.
Right. So how do you typically deal with that? Is it these loops?
Yeah. So a wait node is always good.
But the wait node will wait. I thought about that too. It holds like all 500 runs in that wait node and then shoots them all through, right?
It depends on how you're doing loop through items and stuff. Yeah. So first of all, instead of using the OpenAI node, you should use the AI agent node. It's much more flexible. OpenAI node's good if you made your own assistants on the, OpenAI ChatGPT side, but AI agent is much better. You can configure it like an agent right in the N8N interface, and it's much more flexible too on how you get the outputs, and you can actually have it control other workflows. And so you can give it a workflow as a tool for it to use for like onboarding and stuff. If like you have a client fill out a form, you can have an AI agent say, hey, send it to this workflow to do onboard. Okay, now send it to this workflow to get the payroll done or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was kind of playing with that here, and I wonder if you ever used like OpenRouter, because obviously I can't do like native Perplexity calls in N8N. So if I want to like use Perplexity for this AI module, instead of like making an API call to Perplexity, I can just use my OpenRouter with my Perplexity attached. Yeah, that seems to work pretty well. So I'm really liking these agents. I'm definitely not fully utilizing them, but like for this one, making a Claude Anthropic call, I just said OpenRouter to Claude, and now I have a Claude call.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could just connect it directly too. It's okay.
Yeah, you would use these AI agents instead of like making the call directly to the application.
Yeah, so if you click the plus button and you just type AI agent, there's one specifically that I'll show you. That one. That's the one that you're going to want to use. And so instead of connected chat trigger node, you can change that to be just defined below, and then you can add tools and output parsers and stuff. So you can have it like give you specific JSON responses for the objects that you want to use and stuff. It's extremely powerful. Now, it's really flexible. This can do what all the research agents and the other ones do, all in just one, and you can combine it with other ones too. I don't recommend that you have it do like too much stuff, because you can give it way too much to do and then it'll get like slightly confused. But you can give it like 3 or 4 functions. Like you could have one that emails people and checks your schedule on your calendar and books meetings on your calendar and sends confirmation. You could have one that does all of that in just one node.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I know you can use like memory and tools to give it access to other stuff.
Yeah, so your memory is going to be your chat history, right? If you
Gotcha.
click the plus button on that one, you've got the N8N memory, the simple memory, right? So that one's easy. You don't have to hook anything up. You just click it. It has an option of context window, which is how many previous chats it remembers, right? And then you have your Postgres chat memory, which is like if you're doing large volume, I recommend you set that up. The rest of them I wouldn't really care about.
So this was one of my potential solutions for the API call limits that I was hitting. Like, what if I just used one of these agents and used the memory? Because I'm typically, the reason I'm hitting these limits is the Appify runs, spits out, 500 new results, and I'm only interested in the original ones than the unique ones. I don't want repeats. So I'm checking if it already exists in the database. If not, adds it to the database. But instead of making those API calls to Google Sheets, what if I use the memory and the agent? Like, have you already seen this before? If you have, then
I'm pretty sure I have a workflow that does what you're trying to do somewhere. I could share it with you, but you want to be using a database. You want to be, like I said, swap out your Google Sheets for Supabase. You don't want to be using AI calls for a lot of that heavy lifting, right? You only want to use it like for personalization or some other things, right? But for like data transformation, data filtering, things like that, it doesn't really make sense. So what exactly are you trying to do here? So you grab a bunch of stuff from Appify, you're enriching it. What are you doing here?
So in this specific example, I'm finding Reddit posts that would be a good fit for me to comment on, and then using AI to evaluate and research the topic and then write a comment for that Reddit post and put it into a Google Sheet so that I can leave that comment on Reddit.
That's pretty smart. Yeah, and so you grab like 500 posts at once is what you're saying?
Up to, yeah.
Interesting. So I'm seeing some issues here with your flow kind of already.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, when something hits the loop over item nodes, the object needs to be very specific for it to loop over each item specifically. Let me import this real quick. You should use Cloud 8 for copyright.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than GPT does.
Yeah, this copywriting agent is Claude 3.7.
Okay, so
does this have a native Claude integration?
Yeah, it does.
It does, nice.
I wouldn't do that. Use the AI agent node again. All right, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So first of all, this isn't looping in the traditional sense. Okay, so we grab the Appify actor from the webhook, right? We get the items here. It gets filtered by last 6 hours. That's cool. Good job on that. And then we loop over all of them, right? We're checking to see if it exists. If it does exist, you want it to do this. And if it doesn't exist, you want it to do that.
The opposite, but yeah.
If it does exist, we skip. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Why is there a wait node here? Because too many AI calls?
I have an Indian automations guy who has kind of been helping me with this. He added that there. And I think it helped because I tried it without the wait node and it did not work.
And it did a rate limit. So one thing you can check is if you go to settings, you can click retry on fail and give it a timer, right? And then you can get rid of this wait node and it'll still work the same. And it'll only wait if it fails. That kind of helps you out. You can delete this whole process right here with one Postgres node that's hooked up to Supabase. In one query, you can check to see if all of them exist and filter them out. So all of this can be one node, just so you know.
That would be amazing.
Right? So that's the first change, I would say.
All right, so
after that, this is not actually looping. There's no loop going on here. It's kind of broken. It would like try to loop, it'll go here, and then it'll go in an infinite circle and never stop.
That's my old, because right now it's connected to the if statement. That should be connected to the loop over time. Would that fix it, or is it still infinite?
That it won't be infinite anymore, which is good. So you're adding it to the sheet, and here you're updating the sheet, or adding it to a sheet.
Different sheet.
Okay, that's fine. Again, just swap these out for databases. Here, I would switch this out for this, right? You can just put the prompt in here. You don't need memory on this one. You can just add, Cloud A or GPT, or if you host your own Mistral, right? Then there's no rate limits. So you could host your own like Llama 3 or something, on your own home server and completely get rid of all the rate limits, right?
So I could get rid of the loop, but it would still send, hundreds to the AI agent.
You're still going to need the loop, but you can get rid of, like, if you do too many API requests too quickly, right? Now this loop, batch size right now is 1, which means that if you're sending this properly, it will check 1 at a time.
Yeah.
If you wanted to speed this up, you can go maximum 10. So at 10, it'll do 10 asynchronously. So it still loops the same, but it's doing 10 at the same time, right? And pushing it through the workflow. That'll speed it up quite a lot. That, if you do it that way, you will hit limits with OpenAI. So I recommend you do 6 or 7, because with 6 or 7, you're probably not going to hit those rate limits with the OpenAI pinging it too much. That makes sense?
What would that Supabase module look like? 'Cause I'm very interested in getting rid of like my old way of databasing with Google Sheets.
With Supabase, it's Postgres. You have 2 nodes. Now this one connects directly with Supabase. Create, delete, get a row, get many rows, or update a row. Doesn't have a lot of options, right? Instead, you use Supabase as a database, but you hook it up to a Postgres node. And so we'll click here. We'll just add one, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then with the credentials, you just put your host, database, user, and password. It's really easy. It's the same. You can find it in your Supabase settings just fine. The reason why this is powerful is because you can execute queries, right? And you can update, which Supabase Node doesn't do. But with the query, you can go to ChatGPT and you can say, hey, write me a query to check if, these records exist, and if they do, return this value. Or write me a query to update 1,000 records at once based on the ID. I want to update these 3 fields or something, right? And then it'll send all of them at once directly to the thing. You can even insert to multiple tables, right? So instead of having 2 Sheets nodes, you could just delete this, and put this at the end and have it insert into both tables at the same time on one node. Does that make sense?
Postgres isn't a separate software, or it is a separate software?
So Postgres is a database, right? You think of it like Google Sheets, but much more advanced. Supabase is a service that puts an interface on top of it so it looks pretty. That's it. So it's free. It's hosted on AWS on Amazon, right? So it's the same thing as an Amazon Postgres, but you have a nice interface where you can see and search and do some updates, which makes it a lot easier for people to use, because coming from like Google Sheets or Airtable or something, going to Postgres, it's like too hard of a change for a lot of people. But going into Supabase, at least they can click around and do stuff visually without having to do code. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
So that's why I recommend hooking up this node, though, because it's much, much more flexible. And then if you're using ChatGPT, GPT is a beast at SQL queries. You can give it like, here's my JSON response, or here's my, my previous data or whatever. Here's my table structure. Write me a query to do this. And it'll spit it out like that. You put it in, and 9 times out of 10, it'll work pretty well. I recommend, though, that you do it on like a test database first, or with small amounts, just so that you don't fuck things up while you're testing. And then when you're done testing, take the guardrails off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll take a look. It's definitely 2 separate softwares and doesn't stop the looping. The API calls, then that'll be.
Yeah. The other thing is, these 2 could maybe be the same node as well, right?
Yeah.
So check this out. So you have this research agent that's researching an open router. That's cool. But, we have here tools, and there's one that's really great for research. It's called Wikipedia, and it will literally just search Wikipedia for you right here. You don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is, in the prompt here, be like, hey, use the Wikipedia tool to research this topic, and then put whatever below. And then when it pings, it will ping the AI. The AI will be like, oh, cool, I have to use this tool. It'll go to Wikipedia, it'll grab the page, and it'll go back in the same memory and write a response for you.
Even if it's a client who's not on Wikipedia? Or
this just works natively, right? Okay. This works natively, but it doesn't just have to be Wikipedia. You can hook up Perplexity, you can hook up whatever you want. So the HTTP request would be Perplexity. So you can use it directly right there. So in one AI node, you can, first of all, what's this one doing right here?
Deciding if it's a good post to comment on or not. It's pass failing it.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good idea to keep separate. That makes sense. So it would be this, and instead of this, you would want an if node, right? So these would go away, right? It would be an if node here. If pass, go to here. If fail,
Loop again.
go back to the loop, right?
The newest version
And
of my
then,
thing looks like.
Yeah, and then here, this would go directly to your Postgres node, which would do one insert in all the tables. This would be gone, and this would loop around here, right? And then you would batch it to loop over 10. This wait would also be gone. This check exists would be a Postgres node instead, right? That if would be the same. So your workflow would look a little bit more like this, right?
Cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll look into the Postgres and the Supabase. That could be helpful.
Yeah, it's going to take you maybe a couple of days to get the hang of it, but once you do, you'll see how powerful it is for sure.
Do you think the AI agent has the ability with the memory to do the databasing or not really? Because it really only needs the last 24 hours.
It's not quite how memory works. Memory is the chat history, right? What you could do is, do you play around with vector databases at all?
I use Diffie for that. DIFY, I think it's that AI.
Diffie, huh? Never heard of that one.
Yeah, for like cool. Putting things into like my vector knowledge base instead of using like an OpenAI assistant. I can just API call right into Diffie to add stuff.
Nice. No, that's a good idea. Supabase also has vector databases in it, so you could have them all in one spot alongside your tables with your sheets and things. Might be something to look into. It's not necessary. If he's working for you, that's fine. But you don't want to use AI memory for that. You want to do this loop over items just like this, like you kind of had set up, but just a little bit, more robust. That makes sense.
Yeah, but this part of the reason I was asking for help was like finding the cleanest way from get to A to B. So I know there's like lots of workarounds and dirty stuff you can do, but if there's
another little trick, if you're looking for speed, if you need this to be really, really fast, use your switch node instead of an if node. This is true for all programming languages, Python, JavaScript, C++, whatever. They have switch and then they have if. It's always slower, no matter what. It doesn't matter what programming language it is. This is true with N8N too. So instead of if, you can put switch, you can just add two rules like if it's this, and then if not, and then it works the same as the if node, but it's faster. I don't think you'll hit this scale, but just something to keep in mind if you want to be ultra optimal. Technically, that would be something else you could optimize.
Okay, that's great to know. Want me to go on to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right, let's have some fun. Okay, we're back to mine. Let's go to...
I'm also recording this on my assistant, so I'll send that to you after.
Cool. Hey, if you want to use it as content or whatever, feel free. The way that webhooks work. So I use this tool called Rake. It's how I go into Rake. They send webhooks anytime a new piece of data is identified. Obviously, they've got a native Zapier integration, but it's costing me a fortune in credits. I was able to push that webhook endpoint successfully to my make.com, but I was unable to do so with a N8N webhook. It keeps giving me an error. So I know there's a few different things about N8N webhooks, testing, production. I would never hit this issue with various applications because this happened with Notion too.
Sweet. Yeah, no, let's go over that. I'll explain about the webhook and stuff so you can understand. Maybe it solves your issue. So first of all, your test URL only works when you click listen for test event, right? Your production URL will only work when the workflow is active.
Right.
Okay. So I honestly recommend, because while you build workflows, you're not going to build them in a way that's going to be destructive anyway, to just use the production URL always, right? So you can change the path to whatever you want, right? copy this, make sure it's active, save it, and then use the production one to validate. Now, what might change here is the HTTP method. A lot of things might be using post instead of get or instead of whatever. So like, let me check out yours really quick. How do I make your screen bigger? I don't know how to do it. Oh, was I not sharing that screen? Sorry. See, can you go back to the other screen you were at where you validate the URL? No, the Zapier one? Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and delete this one with make.
Okay.
And you can see it's gone. Now I've tried with both the test.
So first of all, make sure it's post. I would say that's pretty important.
Yeah, so I set it to post. And then do you want to use the test or the production here? I think I tested both.
Use the production. And then respond immediately is fine. Go ahead and test it out. Let's see what's going on. See if there's an error. Status code 404. Okay, jump back over to your N8N. Jump over to your executions. Do you know where to find that? Oh, it's not pinging at all. So one thing we can do is we can actually test it right now. I can try pinging yours to see if it's even working, right? So I'll show you how I can do that.
I'm going to give you the production URL.
Yeah, do that. So I'm going to add an HTTP node. Same thing. It's just an API call. I'm going to do a post request, which is what we're doing. We're going to grab that URL. And yeah, we should just be able to test the step. And if you go to your executions.
Yeah, that did come through.
Right. So then maybe what's happening is maybe it's a different type of method. Maybe it's a GET request instead of post.
Yeah, I wonder.
It should say in the documentation somewhere what type of request it is and how to connect it. So
in my make, I guess this doesn't say whether it's GET or, but this one was pulling through.
Okay, hold on. It's Google Meet is not the best for this, is it? Two screens at once. Okay, there we go. So that's all the data coming in from the webhook, right? It looks like it's probably a post request. Is there some sort of authentication happening, or you just posted a URL?
Not that I know of. I did a very standard make webhook to initiate this thing, and it doesn't work on N8N.
Interesting.
I was wondering if this is like a common problem.
No, it's usually not.
This has happened with a couple different. Let's try a test URL post. What if I set multiple, or is that stupid?
You could just set them all, and then try the production URL again. Save it.
Application respond. Allow multiple HTTP methods. Sure.
Just save it and use production. It'll be better because maybe we don't know what type of request it is, right? It was a different request. So now let's check the executions and see which one it was. See? Double click it. It was a head request.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so when I'm having that issue, that's a good workaround. Just set them all and see what comes in.
Yeah, and then some webhooks like Zoom webhook are like super complicated and they want you to respond back with something in order for it to validate. In those instances, usually they have documentation, but it can be kind of a pain, just so you know.
Gotcha. Okay, so this will solve several of my problems with several applications. That's good to know.
Cool.
All these weird little stupid nuances that get held up. Connecting Google API. Have you done this in your own server with like the?
Yeah. I have a lot of videos on this.
I've watched probably 4 of them.
Yeah.
Mind running through it with me and seeing where I went wrong?
Sure. Let's do it. Go to cloud.console.google.com. I've done this so many fucking times, dude. It's console.cloud. Flip it. Okay. Go to APIs and services.
Should I launch a new project to start from scratch?
If you want, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, let's just do another one. So I've already got 4 that failed.
Sure.
All right, we are now in the new project. We are going to go to APIs and services. Now, consent screen. Where should we go?
You can just click on the quick access in the middle instead of on the left. That's fine too.
So
beautiful. And then at the top search bar, we want what do you want to connect?
Sheets, Gmail, mostly Gmail.
Well, at the top, type in Gmail. You want, I think, V3 or that one, that first one.
Cool.
Enable.
I wonder if there's a reason that this is not working. Maybe because
Beautiful.
of the type of account.
Do Sheets, Drive, all the other stuff. Go through it real quick. All right, now wait on this one because it's going to redirect you somewhere else. Beautiful. So they changed it recently, but it still works kind of the same. So go to OAuth consent screen on the left. We're going to make a new one. So get started, give it a name, give it an email, internal, another email again, and agree, continue, create. Beautiful. Now go to clients, go create client, application type web, name. Okay, authorize JavaScript. I think it's redirect URIs, the second one. Authorize redirect URIs.
And this is where I get so let's go back into, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot, eh?
It's a different action for each one. Go ahead and send
Which
email.
could be a good thing, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. All right, so we're going to, all of these are failed attempts at connecting the same thing. So let's go ahead and create a new credential. Grab that OAuth redirect URL.
Yep, that's it. And then click create. And then grab the client ID and client secret.
Should I save them somewhere or just go ahead and put them in there?
You might want to because you might have to hook it up like 2 or 3 times for different services. So you can always grab them later though as well. I think
yeah, they're available after. Okay, I got them.
Cool. And then drop those into N8N, but don't click connect yet because there's one more thing we have to do. Sweet. Let's go back over to the console real quick. And then I believe this is where they move something, so it might take me a second. Click on audience real quick. Yeah, no, that's fine. Data access.
The scopes.
Yes, add or remove scopes. There you go. You want to wait, rows per page at the bottom, you want to make it large because it's just showing 10, but there's a lot. And then click the checkbox on the top left to select them all. And scroll down and click update. Yeah, and then I think click update again. Save. Yeah. Beautiful. Now it should work if you sign in. It might not. And if it doesn't, there's one more thing we have to do, which only happens on some accounts, but not on all of them. And I don't know why. So sign in with Google. You have to use the same email that you set up the cloud credentials with.
Ah, there's my problem right there.
So whatever one you're trying to use to access your Google Drive from needs to be the same one that you select when you log in.
Right. Well, that's probably what happened.
There you go.
So if I wanted to connect a different user account for that Gmail,
you'd have to go through the same process being logged into them.
And I'd have to make them an admin on the Google console so that they could be the ones.
Oh, interesting. I'm not so sure because I actually don't think so. I think you can do it all within the organization so long as you're an admin. Maybe. I'm like 80% sure we've done that before, but it wasn't me who did it. And it wasn't for N8N. It was for it's a while ago. But it should be everybody under the workspace should be able to use the app if it's internal. You might have to add the emails though, which there's a spot for that. I can't remember where it is, but you add the ones that you want to give access to and it allows them to log in, right?
Got it. Okay. Let's see if that works. So that's probably what happened.
It's going to wait for the webhook, so it's not going to test. You got to put a different type of trigger on it. I would just do on-click, trigger manually on top. Yeah. And then click stop on the bottom. And then instead of clicking test workflow, yeah, there you go. You got it.
All right. We did it. You're crushing this. We're busting through these things.
Yeah. And
shortcut keys. Help with that.
Yeah, that just takes time. How to import, export JSON, that takes...
Maybe that one. This is just how it processes data in here. I just hate it. So another common thing I do is I trigger an automation when a Google Sheet row is added.
Okay. You can click, I think, fetch test event. It'll
fetch all of them.
You don't know which one was updated.
Right. It's fetched almost 2,000 events that it wants to push through this.
That's fucked. On this one, bro, I am not seeing a way to fix this.
Right.
Outside of switching infrastructure on this one, I don't.
Right. Use like a make trigger to send data into N8N.
Yeah. You can use Google Apps Script too.
Right. Do a custom API call or something.
Yeah. In the JavaScript, that would work. That wouldn't be too hard. It'd be a small snippet of code. I think that would be, if you wanted to stay in Sheets, that would be your best solution.
Okay. Yeah, this is fucked. All right. Well, I think other than this annoying one, I think I'll be able to handle most of the other shit.
Sweet.
Any last tips or tools that you think might make my N8N experience a little bit smoother?
Get good at using the code node.
Code node? How do you do
Yeah.
it?
Well, you start off by using ChatGPT, but when you ask ChatGPT to do code for the code node, you have to tell it it's for N8N and it's inside the code node. And if you're grabbing data from a previous node, you need to say, we're grabbing data from this node. Here's the name and here's what the data looks like. Otherwise, ChatGPT will write code, which works, generally speaking, but JavaScript inside of N8N is, there's just a couple of slight differences on how it grabs data from different nodes and stuff that GPT won't write if you don't specify, right?
What do you typically use this for?
A lot of shit. I use it for all kinds of shit. Filtering stuff like loop over items, right? So a lot of times when you send a list to loop over items, it'll just loop once because it's like a variable that is a list, right? Instead of just being a list. So in N8N, the loop over item node kind of sucks in that aspect, whereas you can't say only loop over these things, right? There's no option for that. It just loops over whatever the fuck was sent to it. You know what I'm saying? So you can use a code node to get rid of all the crap and format it in a way. You just tell GPT, hey, I have this response in the previous node. I need it to work in the loop over item nodes. I'm in N8N. Make me some code for it. And it 9 times out of 10 will come out perfect. And it'll loop over it. If you're doing major data transformations or cleanup, like cleaning up phone numbers or emails or transferring large amounts of data or testing large amounts of data, you can use this instead of AI nodes, and it'll be a lot faster and a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of things you can do. You can't do API calls like Fetch or Axios or anything inside of there. So just so you know, it
But
won't
data
let you.
transformations are helpful. Putting before a loop node to format it for the loop.
Yes, that's really, really great at that. Also, getting rid of shitty data you don't need. Like I get an Appify actor, it has like a million things. You only need like 2 or 3 of them. Edit nodes are good. Sometimes though, you have like a list of like hundreds of items or something, and it's just an edit node would just be a pain in the ass. Whereas a code node, you can just GPT real quick and it does it. You know. Keep in mind though. Sorry, continue.
Once it's got the code for you, say ChatGPT did it, and you need to put like the variable from Appify into the code, and that is that how it works? You like put the array inside of this code from Appify, and you'll just like know where to put it.
Yeah, so you can drag and drop it. In JavaScript, all variables are starting with like let or const. So it'll be like const name equals, and then whatever you're grabbing. So you can drag and drop the node and you see like const Appify results equals, and then drag and drop. And then in your code, when you're using it, you reference Appify whatever, you know, to modify it. That's a little bit of more complex. Like I wouldn't say you have to get that deep into it, unless you want to get like really, really good. In that case, yeah. But it's something that like for most use cases, ChatGPT can usually crank out something quite good if you know how to prompt it properly, right? That's the key. If you know how to prompt it properly. So
you ever use this N8N chat function or a chat extension?
No.
It's called N8N chat. Everyone's talking about it. I think it's probably much better in the cloud version than the self-hosted version because it's like a Chrome extension. Just wondering if there's any like N8N AI assistants that help you with like building stuff.
I haven't tried any of that stuff. I mean, most of the stuff I just build out, like it's easy for me to just do it. Using ChatGPT, you can prompt it. It can come up with JSON workflows for you, but they usually come out really bad. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But on the HTTP node, one really cool thing about it is you can import curl commands. So if you go to API docs and they have like a curl, you can copy that and just paste it in and it'll auto configure it for you and you don't have to do anything, which is fucking awesome. That's huge. It saves a lot of time.
How do you do that? ChatGPT will auto configure it, or N8N will?
Sometimes too, like if the API docs are shitty, ChatGPT might be able to come up with one for you.
Yeah.
But like, I'll show you. It'll be really, really fast.
Yeah, I do a lot of API calls and get stuck in a lot of places.
Yeah, right on. So you go to like some random API documentation. Doesn't matter, you know. This is not their docs. Where are their docs?
Yeah, you're in their support. It's probably like API.airtable.
Yeah, hold on. There we go. Maybe this one. Yeah, here we go. So we have this one, right? You see this says curl right here?
Yeah.
So I can just copy this and we can go over here and I can click import curl and paste it in.
Oh, shit.
Click import. And it just configures everything. It does the headers. You put your API key here. Here's the body. You can edit it the way you need. It's really nice.
Huge. That's a hack. Yeah, that's going to save me so much time.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It works like 99% of the time. There is like a 0.1% that doesn't, but it's quite good. It does work really well.
Okay, hell yeah. Man, I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to think of some other stuff. I mean, you just got to get some time under the belt is really what it is.
Yeah, it's hitting these little roadblocks, working through them, and you get a little bit better each time.
Yeah. That's it, man.
All right. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
I want to leave the window open. If you ever need help, man, shoot a message in chat. You know, I'm always around. If it's something simple, I can always just give you like a quick response whenever. And then if you need to hop on another call, just let me know, man.
Yeah, back at you. Anything I can do to help, please let me know. As this course gets more underway, I'll definitely be hitting you up, maybe to come in, do some master classes, and I'll be probably building a lot more in here. So I'm sure I'll get stuck quite a bit. I appreciate you offering.
Hell yeah, man. Well, you take it easy. Have a fun call with the next guy. And we'll talk soon,
nothing for the next guy now. Thank you. We'll chat soon.
All right, man. Take it easy, okay? I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys would like some more help with N8N, I am hosting a free community to help you guys out. There we have challenges to earn some real cash money. I also answer any question that gets posted in the group. So if that's something you're interested in, please check out the link down below. And you guys have a wonderful day.